All right, and DD India correspondent Anil Thomas is joining us live. Hi Anil, a very good morning to you. The situation currently is volatile in Syria, especially in some specific parts. Civilians are caught in the middle of shifting power dynamics and territories. Security beefed up by Syrian security forces after reports that nearly 1,000 people have died in 2 days of violence. Perhaps the worst violence since the fall of Assad regime. How do you analyze it?
Well, good morning, Siddharth. Well, very much so. This particular violence that's been seen, that's been one of the worst in the post-Assad region that we have seen. But also, if you look at the violence that Syria has seen over the years, right from 2011, this could be among the top 10, violence and the fallout that one has seen. Remember, this is a resurgence of sectarian tensions that are existing in Syria. There is political transition and power struggle that's on. Reasons fallout, a clear fallout of that. That's not all. The incumbent or the current government that's running the show, there is a lot of insurgent activity that's not being checked, rebel activity that's been left unchecked, and there is a lot of proxy conflict that's taking place in Syria. And I think if you look deep into the reports, you will realize that there is a lot of proxy conflict along with foreign influence. The acting control or the acting person taking control of Syria currently is indicating at. It leaves the people of Syria in a lot of flux. This particular resurgence of sectarian tensions is something that Syria cannot afford at this point of time as they're looking to rebuild. And, this particular clash that's taken place between the two forces, one, that is the Alawite minority, in areas which are their strongholds, clearly indicate that things are not very much in order. And there is a lot of trust deficit that exists between the government and the pro-Assad, loyalists who are out in the middle and fighting it out, leaving no stone unturned.
Right. Anil, Syria's interim president Ahmed al-Shara has also come out with a statement. Any updates on that?
Well, the statements clearly indicate that, the way forward, one needs to understand that over 1,000 lives lost is what independent agencies are saying. This number could easily rise to, 1,200 and beyond. But, we'll stick to 1,000 that the numbers have come. What needs to be done now is, there has to be some kind of security reform that needs to come into place. The trust deficit that I'm talking of, there has to be an inclusive governance that come into place. You've got to implement some kind of policies that ensure representation and protection of all ethnic groups. And, somewhere foster national unity. That seems to be missing in Syria at this point of time. There is also transitional justice that needs to follow with this. And that somewhere looks totally out of this, system. There is international support that's come for Syria at this point of time. But, addressing these challenges is something that's going to be important. And there has to be some kind of a comprehensive approach that needs to come into place. There is no approach that the government has taken at this point of time, that balances immediate security concerns, with somewhere looking at long-term reconciliation and also development strategies that come into play. I think that's the missing trick here. But then the leader who's running the show is trying time and again, his comments have indicated that he's trying to get things under control. But, the sooner the better. If this prolongs for another day or two, you could see the numbers almost double. And I think that's not something that Syria can afford and the present administration can.
All right. Also, Anil, there is escalating violence between different armed groups, like you were mentioning a while ago. People are reliant on humanitarian aid. They don't have electricity and drinking water, specifically in some parts. Syria's government said it has regained most areas taken by Assad loyalists. France condemned the violence. How do you assess the situation there going further?
Well, France has been very quick. If one takes a look at how international condemnation has followed, France has been quick. There are many countries, many Arab countries that are monitoring the situation there, especially on the developments that are taking place. Turkey, for one, many countries that are taking a closer look at what could be the way forward. And I think all that France could do, France cannot interfere into the internal affairs of running a country, but they can purely offer advices. And I think that could be putting the present day government to become a bit more inclusive, where there are security reforms that are taken place much faster, because at the end of the day, there is a huge trust deficit. That's where loyalists from the earlier regime are taking on the present day government. So there is trust deficit that needs to be built. And I think France has been suggesting things to the present day government on, somewhere there needs to be justice that needs to come into place, establish mechanisms where they address the past grievances as well as, human right violations where the pro-Assad group believe that there are human rights violations that have taken place that need to be checked, and also protecting somewhere, reconciliation and preventing cycles of retribution. This is something that they need to take care of. And I think French President Emmanuel Macron has been quick to suggest, but the world, along with many Arab countries, are watching the fluid situation that Syria is undergoing. Remember, Syria has something or the other. Syria comes back into the news somewhere in every quarter. Either it was in 2024, it was the dethroning of Assad, followed by almost 2 to 3 months of calm, and suddenly you see this disruption taking place again. So you have not you don't have a continued phase of peace that Syria has seen. There is something that is disruptive every 3 to 4 months. Right. And I think that's the thing that the present day government needs to do. The world is ready to help, but Syria needs to understand that, there has to be some kind of cohesion that the pro-Assad loyalists and the present day government need to bring to the table. Because if that transparency is missing, this particular talks time and again will take place. 3 months down the line, you will see more and more small fights like these take place, which break into larger, which have larger ramification, and then Syria will be back in the news.
Indeed, volatile situation as of now there, and comprehensive approach is needed to make things better, like our correspondent Anil Thomas was saying. Thank you so much, Anil.